Today is Wednesday, April 24th, 2019. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is our recap of Survivor Edge of Extinction, Week 10, Episode 11.
This episode was titled Fasten Your Seat Belts, and it was kind of hard to tell, but we're reasonably confident that it was Joe over there in the jury at Tribal Council that said that.
Yep.
It was hard to match up his mouth moving with the voice because it was a whisper voice, and he wasn't really moving his lips very much. He was trying to be discreet, but those mics picked him up, I think. So that's what we're going with. All right. Previously on Survivor, the majority had a plan of attack. It was take Aurora out, but Wardog, well, he had different thoughts. He was focused on getting rid of Wentworth, and so it was. So she was off the edge of extinction. Okay, before we dive in, who did you have safe? Who did you have being voted out?
Oh, right. Point out my bad scores so you can tell your good scores.
We've done this at the beginning of every recap.
Yeah, right. Well, I was so bold this week, which bordered on the, stupid side. So
At least that's what it's called when I do it.
Well, it's what it's called when I do it, too. I made my picks and went, oh, this is just crazy.
Anyway.
This is craziness. I had, after all week long saying, oh, yeah, I'm going to choose Wardog to go home, Wardog. I looked at how many I had left for my safe picks. And he thought, okay, well, I need to use Wardog just
because there's a limit.
Time.
You can only choose them 6 times to be safe.
So I thought, okay, if there's ever a week to go bold. So I chose Wardog, Gavin, Ron.
Gavin was fine. Yeah,
and
Ron's
Victoria. Safe.
Victoria. Yeah, there's no risk really with Victoria. And who did
and
you
I
have
chose Lauren to go home. I thought, well, I'll just go out there. Probably not too many people will choose Lauren. Turns out there's a reason for that.
Okay, so I had Aurora, Gavin, Ron, and Victoria safe with the Wardog going out.
Yes. Good job, babe. You did good.
It's night 27. So we come back. This is a 2-day cycle, right? Because we ended on 29. So we're back at the Vata camp there after Tribal Council.
Down to 8 people now.
Lauren's exclaiming that Tribal Council sucked, and she's sad that Wentworth went. She was like an older sister to her. And she's angry at Wardog, but she says that Rick's the bigger threat. That's who she wants out next.
She wants them both out, I think, so.
What'd you think about that exchange between Gavin and Wardog? We had a little teaser of that in the previous, or not a previously on the, it was the teaser for this episode.
I thought it was just karma.
Next time on. You thought it was karma?
For Gavin.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, well, you did it to other people, so what are you whining about now?
Left them out of the vote, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Now, I do think Wardog went over the top with how he was talking to him.
Yeah, you think he was feeling a little more comfortable with his position and how well he was performing?
That's just Wardog,
so
I think.
He was ready to drop the hammer this time?
Though I don't know that Gavin should have been as sensitive either, but nobody likes that. So they were, I thought they were both kind of, suck it up and move on.
Gavin said that he was confident in his connection to Wardog going into Tribal Council, but not so much now. Wardog said, look, you always take the easy route. You just go with the numbers. So I don't think that's necessarily wrong in an assessment of Gavin.
No.
You don't need to tell Gavin that.
Well, that's what I mean. He doesn't know when to shut up.
That's something you can share in your final tribal if you get there.
Just smooth it over. You don't know if you need him or you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Just smooth it over.
Easy to forget that in the heat of the moment with all the challenges they have.
Because they both said, the other one said something that they didn't particularly like. So I just felt that was where they just started butting heads, and that didn't serve anyone. So that's why I kind of thought they were both in the wrong.
Well, everyone doesn't hate Gavin or talk down to him. Ron and Victoria were very kind. They even told Gavin that they appreciate him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ron shared in a confessional that he was secretly very happy that Gavin and Wardog had a bit of a tiff and that it had drawn a line between them. So that part, that's a pretty accurate assessment too.
That is the part of Wardog's game, because he really has played, in my opinion, a lot of the areas. He's played a really good game.
It was interesting to watch Gavin essentially mirror Ron after he was kowtowed with the vote. Well, when Ron didn't know what the vote was, and he came back and said, well, I know you don't trust me. And this is basically what Gavin was saying. Well, I can be a vote for you. So he was kind of mirroring Ron back to him, and it seemed effective.
I thought, you and Victoria and Julia started the whole thing.
You're talking about Gavin.
Eric, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So, hello.
Yeah, but the way Survivor works is it messes with your memory. And it
I know.
Eventually makes everyone a hypocrite. It just does.
It does, yeah.
It's like a hypocrite factory. It's like, but you did this. Yes, and so did you.
But you did that too. Yeah, I'm sure it's different when somebody does it to you.
Obviously.
I'm sure I would feel the same way.
Because I'm the central character in my story.
In my world.
In the movie about me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Ron's concerned that he needs to mend fences with Julie, but Julie's got a completely different take on it. What did you think about her response there to being left out?
I was surprised. I thought she would be angry.
Yes.
And she wasn't at all.
Yeah. She went out of her way to say how she wasn't going to be emotional, that she had been left out.
I understand, and under you're right, but I don't always need to know. Blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking, what?
And she maintains full trust in him out of all the people there.
Yeah.
So.
Totally trust him. He's got my back. I got his. Really? Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
It sort of confirms and solidifies where Julie sits in the scheme of things.
Ron is probably in the most precarious position as far as juggling all these people, but he just keeps coming out smelling like a rose.
The flip side of that is that he's the most connected too.
Yeah.
Which
he is.
Always seems to pay
everything well.
Positive dividends in Survivor. That's just one of the things, to have to be in the center of the hub of a social network like that, even when it starts scaling down, is very important.
Very good at his manipulation.
All right, it's day 28 now. Wardog is excited that they're cooking breakfast. But he wants to relive the moment a little bit. He asked him, what was that thing that Kelley said when she was on her way out? A lot of lying going on. I don't know why he needed to go back to that, but that didn't seem like a line that you would want to evoke. But I think he was reliving his victory.
Say it too, Wardog, so you can go out next.
Okay, so this is the powwow scene that we got in the Next Time on Survivor teaser for this episode, where Rick and Ron and Wardog huddle up, and they agree that they are the threats. So there's the classifier is threat or goat. That's what we're left with according to these guys. So these three are the threats. Everyone else is a goat, and they've decided, hey, we've got to stick together and protect each other and vote together. Except I didn't see how their three was going to get them five that they needed.
You know what I thought when I saw them sitting there talking?
Yeah.
I thought, I believe Ron is just observing. He is just soaking up all the information.
You thought that because they didn't show
him.
Because they didn't show him saying anything until the end.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that he was just like, okay, let's see what they got to say, and then I'll do whatever I decide. I think he just soaks up all the information.
There wasn't any room really for him in the conversation the way Rick and Wardog were offering confirmation for each other. Aurora, oh yeah, Aurora. I think that's definitely where we need to go. And we're threats. Yeah, we're threats. We're the biggest threats, and they're
Ron
goats.
wasn't saying much.
But he did and it seemed kind of odd and out of place just observing it. He did mirror back everything that those two had basically just stated, with the fact that they needed to stick together, they needed each other, they needed to get through a few votes, and their first target was going to be Aurora.
Yeah, and why wouldn't he agree to all the above?
As they, to Rick's credit, I think he started out good. He's patting them all on the back, including himself. We're the ones with the resumes. We're the ones who's made moves.
Rick makes the best case he can, and it either sticks or it doesn't.
All three of these guys are pretty good communicators.
They are.
In the moment, in these kind of scenarios, I think.
And Rick was trying to cast a shadow over the girls, Okay, now those girls are going to start wanting to build their resume, because we're getting toward the end, and they're going to start making moves and da-da-da-da-da. And we got, he's trying to put a target on anybody else.
You think he's including Gavin in that list, too?
Yeah.
This is where the numbers seemed a little confusing. Maybe they thought they had Julie and they had Gavin.
Or they had
Aurora.
Julie and Aurora, so they thought, or I don't know. I'm not positive, but I think Ron might really have Aurora and Julie in his pocket.
Seems to, and he was pretty confident in his position after their little powwow. We get another confessional with him where he exclaims, "Yay, I am in the middle again. This is where I love to be because it means I have options."
Yeah, I think he's done an excellent job of putting himself in that position.
Off to the reward challenge. What all was at stake here? What was the reward? Do you remember that they were competing for?
Oh,
they called it a mud
sandwiches,
bath, but it was really about the food, I think.
Yeah, that was the sandwiches, the
pulled
chicken,
pulled pork, salads,
beef, salad,
and
brownies,
yeah,
juice and wine.
Yeah. Like, and a little spa kind of retreat, so respite from the game to some degree.
Oh, the warm water.
Mm-hmm.
And a shower.
Okay, let's talk about the challenge. We covered this a little bit because we had seen the preview when we did the listener feedback show, but they have two people swimming. The first one gets the first ring. The second person that swims through gets the final two rings. So they've got to collect these rings and then throw the rings, land them on 3 floating posts in the water. But to collect the rings, they've got to run over the platform, drop down, pull themselves underwater, back to the beginning of the platform, then come up and untie the ring or rings and throw them and swim to the final platform that they're going to toss the rings from.
Everybody needed air in between except Aurora.
Yeah, she was pretty stunning, and Probst was there with all the compliments. She was just blazing through it, trying to give her side a lot of time, and she did give him an advantage to begin with. So
she did.
Gavin
she gave him a big lead.
Got to start throwing first, and he landed one, and then he proceeded to have some trouble, at which point Lauren showed up with the last 2 rings for the blue team, and Rick landed 1, 2, and all of a sudden Blue was ahead 2-1. Yeah. And there was a couple of misses, and then Rick finished it off. So Rick is having a really good episode at this point, winning a reward.
If Aurora had just come running in and just knocked Gavin on off into the water and threw herself as well, they might have won.
Yeah. I'm not sure that was an option.
No, it wasn't an option, I'm sure. But I bet you she wanted to once she caught her breath.
Yep.
Let me throw them.
So Rick and Wardog and Julie and Lauren head off to their reward. Probst calls their chariot in. They load up on the boat, and they're gone.
Mm-mm.
Oh, I did leave out the part where Wardog swam to the wrong platform. That was a little funny.
Wardog in challenges.
Yeah.
He muddled through, but, he didn't.
I always like to
didn't
watch.
Look all that pretty doing it.
I like to watch the people's swimming technique. That tells me if they really know what they're doing. If someone keeps their face out of the water, that means they're just sort of barely competent, and it's a struggle swim. And you get a lot of strain in your neck doing that.
That's me.
But when you have someone, like you watch Aurora and Lauren, they both, Aurora really effectively, obviously, with all the praise that Probst provided for her. But when they're face down and they know how to breathe to the side and look up in sight,
like you do.
Then that's something they teach you when you're learning how to do triathlons. You have to do a lot of sight practice, and but that makes you that much more efficient and that much faster. it's always something that I'm watching for when I'm watching those water challenges where they get to do some swimming.
All right. And we get back to the beach. And Ron tells us he hadn't had anything to eat in 11 days.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's had rice and little stuff around there, but not food.
The extras, yeah.
So, but it'd be good to spend some extra time with these guys.
Yep.
So they can
Excited
talk
about that
and visit.
possibility.
Of course, it didn't take long before he was complaining about how Aurora drove him nuts.
Yeah, that came a little later, I think.
It did.
They had Gavin talking about that opportunity to have that discussion, to talk with him, and then they jumped to the Edge of Extinction there on day 28. Kelley's having a hard time.
Were you surprised, though? Were you surprised at how quickly Ron threw Rick under the bus?
So I guess I was a little bit, but that's savvy gameplay on his part. But let's come back to that when they actually hit that point in the episode.
I am at that point in the episode.
You might have jumped ahead a little. Let's talk about Edge of Extinction.
Oh, you're right, I did.
Okay. Would you like to talk about Edge of Extinction now?
I guess.
It was, I have that exasperation in your voice. I'm not sure exactly why it's there.
No,
but
it's not exasperation. I was teasing you. Okay.
Okay. My point, though, was that this is an example of where the Edge of Extinction section felt like a waste of time to me. Yeah, so Kelley's bummed out. I don't really care. I know they gave time to the other people. I still really don't care.
It was kind of nice to see Joe and Aubry and Kelley, the connection that they had.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, we don't know if they have a connection or they don't, but they seem to.
Because
and
they
that
hugged?
They were supporting her. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I thought, okay, so they do have some connection with each other.
The Reem fans were thrilled because she got to tear into Kelley a little bit and let her.
You ruined my survivor dream.
Yeah, killed my survivor dream. I did appreciate that.
Okay, but once Reem, let's give her due. Once she got that off her chest, and Kelley was out there crying in the sand and
after she
and
made her cry
sunburned,
more,
then Reem, her mother kicked in, and she went out and talked her into coming back and getting in the shade. It was too hot out here, and so she was still mothering once she got the discipline
after
and
she got the punishment
censored
doled
her.
out.
Yeah. So.
Okay, I guess the thing that. If there was something to take away from that was you get a little bit of Reem's perception of the Kama tribe. She does not think highly of anyone who was in the Kama tribe because they let Kelley stay in the game this long.
Yep.
And the only reason that's important is Reem's on the jury now.
That's right. But at least they finally got wise. So she will look at those who voted her off maybe more positively. Except one of them, we'll be out there with him.
Okay, now we're back at the Vata camp,
Okay.
post-reward challenge. And yes, Ron says that he is also, like Gavin, happy to have that time with Aurora and Victoria so they can strategize a little bit.
Okay, now what do you think about how quickly he threw him under the bus? I was actually surprised by that.
It seemed like he might have been reading the room a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's the appropriate response. If you get the rooms going in that direction, you go with the room.
So he was just playing to the crowd.
Could be. I didn't take it to be anything definitive on his part. So he seems to be he has good situational awareness for what I've observed so far, except for when he's being left out of the vote. But and then Gavin reaffirms again that he is a vote for them to use. Woe is me, poor Gavin.
Well, and this is where he made the decision to, instead of choosing to keep the extra vote, which he could have, he chose to give it back to her willingly.
This was a strange sequence for me because he did that, and he's talking about building the trust, and then, according to Aurora, they proceed to argue like a couple that desperately needs to break up. So, because as she declared, they are two drama queens and they're trying to out-drama each other. So they're arguing about how much rice to cook.
That seems very accurate.
Yeah.
About they just annoyed each other. Yeah. And I think it's because they both wanted to be right. Come on.
I think it's a good example of how despite all these little exchanges like this that happen, you have to find ways to work with people too. So there's not an imminent need for them to settle on anything. They have an idea. Yeah, the plan is to take Rick out, assuming he doesn't win immunity. So that sounds good. And now let's argue about how much rice to cook.
But this is what surprises me, is that they did so well in their interactions and their negotiations with the big stuff. And here they're going to get all nitpicky, fussy about little annoying things, which could also blow your game.
Yep.
So one little annoyance could be the one thing that, if it's the timing's just right,
sometimes you just need an excuse.
That's all it could take.
Right.
And they're not seeming to really stay as aware of that as the bigger things.
Okay, off to the mud pool in the celebration, and it continues. I didn't mention it, but Rick did jump in the water and give Wardog a big hug after they won the reward challenge there in the water.
He did.
And so now it's time for them to share some more as they're slathering up in the mud. You said the mud was really dark, huh?
Yeah, almost seemed like a green between green and charcoal or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you said something about the charcoal-colored mud.
Well, I've had the mud baths before.
Mm-hmm.
Where you get in, my goodness.
In Napa Valley.
Yeah.
That's one of the things people do when they go there.
Oh, yeah. Yep, been there, done that. And it was lovely, but, getting the mud off afterwards.
Can be a challenge on its own.
Yes, it was.
Yep, so Rick and Wardog make sure to lather up each other's back with mud, and they have a nice close moment there.
Oh, that was my first thing when I saw that, though, was, oh, man, I bet they really need to exfoliate after being out there in the elements all that time. That's going to feel,
and of course,
so good.
The warm water there at the mud pool evidently was one of the bigger treats of the whole thing.
Probably the only thing that would have drawn me out was they hadn't eaten yet.
Yeah.
That's probably why they waited to give them the food.
And the shower to wash off is evidently pretty cold from what Rick and Wardog were saying. So, but that, with Rick and Wardog washing off first, that gives Julie and Lauren a moment to do some strategizing.
True.
Julie shares that she has heard every female left in the game mentioned as a goat and as a target, and she would really like to change that.
Yeah, so...
So they trade, right? Who do you want to get out? Who does Lauren want?
We didn't hear them say it, but why would Rick and Wardog do that in front of them?
How do you know it wasn't Ron?
Because he wasn't there.
Or Gavin, or...
Because he wasn't there.
She wasn't talking about in the moment. She's saying in the past.
I'm not sure she wasn't.
In the past, she has heard that.
Maybe.
She wasn't saying just now. That's an interesting angle that you're looking at it only from the most recent past.
Yeah, that
they're on the reward, and that's not necessarily what she was saying at all.
But it could have been.
Okay, I think it'll make more sense if you step back and give it a little wider timeline.
Of course you would.
And what did you think about Lauren's pitch for going after Rick versus Wardog? These two are interesting to watch in this episode.
Yeah. Well, Julie wants to vote out Wardog, and Lauren is more fixated on Rick because she doesn't know yet. She has a stronger connection to Wardog. She would still like to, I think, get vengeance for the Kelley vote, but I think she wants to kind of hold back a little bit and push Rick out front first.
To her advantage to keep Wardog because she's got an alliance. Yeah.
Yes. So I think that was the main reason that she was pushing
I did
Rick.
enjoy seeing them take action, not be passive, to make some plans for an alliance.
Yeah.
That part I did enjoy. It was good to finally see that. And I don't know that much of that has happened up until this point. We saw that one attempt at the merge with the women to come together when Julie was morally outraged at Lauren's proposal to vote out Rick.
I think they probably have. I think they've talked all along. It just doesn't further the storyline, and so they can't spend a lot of time on something that doesn't further the storyline. Maybe it's going to further the storyline now.
Could be. Yep. You'd hope there's some reason for showing it, given the limited time for things to happen. And you also, ideally, as fans, would like to have some reason for cheering for someone at the end.
True.
And there's a lot of people in the 8 at this point in the episode that you don't really have much reason to cheer for. So, yeah, they need some story.
Oh, and then they're all relaxed and clean, and they get to sit down and pig out.
Mm-hmm. Lauren sure can stuff a lot of food in her mouth. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't really.
She was chewing with a mouthful.
Well,
yeah.
I guess the kind of food that she can eat, since she can't eat the rice.
Yeah.
So she got to get it where she can get it.
I just noticed her jowls were full. She had them
Though
back.
she did get pizza,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, definitely not her first time eating.
Nope, but she chows down when she can.
All right, on to the immunity challenge, day 29 now. So they got these obstacles. They can't touch the ground. The floor is lava. And they've got to hold the buoy and jump from obstacle to obstacle without touching the ground. What'd you think about that?
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, it wasn't particularly exciting. And everybody seemed to manage it just fine.
Yeah,
so
nobody seemed to have a problem.
It didn't present a challenge. And then the next part was, okay, the second buoy that's got a key on it, you've got to bounce it through a net.
Yeah.
So it's in a long rectangular net structure, and you've got to sort of bounce it forward from one end to the other.
I'm sure
to get
all
it
that's easy for us to say. It didn't look that difficult, but and I'm sure it was, all of it.
Okay.
But, it's not one of those things where you cringe and go, oh, my goodness, how are they doing that? So I think we're just kind of blasé about it. But
well, we have certain expectations for the entertainment that we want out of a challenge. I don't know that there's anything wrong with that.
I thought when I saw the pictures and they had the ball up in the net, I thought they were going to have to roll the ball somewhere and make it stay on something. And then it's like they just have to crawl under the net.
Oh, for the third part.
I mean,
it sounds like you're describing the second and the third part.
No.
The way you said that,
part.
but yeah, the third part, to get all three buoys with keys on it through, they've got to push through a net, and Rick did really excellent with this part. Aurora was out in front all the way up until here,
and he caught her.
And then he just bowed his head down and pushed
Chucked
that
his
net.
head,
and went
off
right
he
through,
went.
caught up. She had a little bit of a head start, but
Again, I'm sure that was difficult, moving both those balls under there and all of that. But I had envisioned, when I saw the picture of it, that, oh my goodness, it was going to be difficult to try to roll those balls all the way down to the other end of the net without them falling off. So I just had a different vision, and then I thought, oh, they just have to crawl under. Okay. But their big challenge was the puzzle in the end.
right, there's a huge star puzzle on a Lazy Susan, so they can spin it around and work on it from different angles, and they've got to assemble the three-dimensional star puzzle. So I did like the star puzzle.
That
was pretty
looked
cool.
difficult.
Yeah, and so the buoy, they had to find one of the three keys to unlock the puzzle so they could spin it around and work on it. That was the purpose of collecting the keys, and then they were off working on the puzzle. Laura had a little bit of a lead, and then Rick caught up, and so he got...
Did you say Aurora?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I did. I was looking
Thought
at
you
multiple
said
names.
Laura.
No,
Laura. And I was like, what did he say? But that could just be my hearing, but okay.
that would be
Right?
your hearing.
Aurora looked
Yep.
like she was in the lead.
Yep.
And Julie kept trying to copy off people because she had no clue.
There were several people looking at others and how they were doing.
and I
trying to
never
get a-
thought Ron had any chance
Yeah.
whatsoever.
So Rick started making some pretty good progress, and then he hit a roadblock. He and Aurora were neck and neck for a little bit, and then it looked like he fell behind, and then all of a sudden he figured it out and just boom, 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 and he was done.
Yeah.
And he
Yes.
exclaimed, "La cheeserie!" I had to go look that up. I was not familiar
What did
with
it
that.
mean?
So it's from a sports talk show. It's something people yell at golf tournaments now, I guess, is the gist of it. It's from a sports talk show.
I
It's
never heard it on Big Break.
based. I think it might have come after Big Break and us
Okay.
watching it. But this is actual golf tournaments, not Big Break, not like reality shows. So there's like a cheese place inside of a wine store in D.C., La Cheeserie. Anyway, it's just like if you know the joke, it's like an in-joke thing. So if you know it, now people exclaim it out in golf tournaments and in support of different people. So that's what that was about. So
alrighty then.
He was just affirming his association with the La Cheeserie tribe.
So Rick wins immunity, and
second time in the row that Rick has won. Now he had an advantage last time, so it's a little bit of it's not like a full-on win, but a win's a win as far as you're concerned with being immune. So immune is immune.
Well, my first thought was, Aurora, you're in trouble.
He really won this one. Yep.
Okay, but Gavin tells us that Rick was going home.
Yes. Everyone seemed very clear that Rick was going.
Rick was going home.
Yeah.
But now that they can't do that, he wants Wardog. And I thought, then that means that it won't happen that way.
Sayonara, he says to Wardog.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're headed back to that Vata camp there, still on day 29, and there's sharks in a feeding frenzy. There's something under that coral, and those 3 sharks are going to tear it apart.
Well, Gavin also said, though, if Wardog gets to the end, he'll win. So he was acknowledging the game Wardog is playing.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So, he did give him that, and he was.
We get to hear Victoria saying basically the same thing Gavin said. She was all excited to vote Rick out, but since he won, they're going to have to pivot to Wardog.
Yep. The other threat.
Wardog wants to get wood with Rick. I thought there was going to be something from that, but there really wasn't. They just actually really went and gathered wood while everyone else decided who they were going to vote for. Okay. So Vic, Aurora, Gavin are clear. Yeah, it's Wardog. And Ron's excited because it's up to him he tells us to decide. Although I'm not sure they needed him. As a matter of fact, I don't think they necessarily needed him.
Well, they didn't need him. They didn't need his vote.
But to hear Ron tell it.
As long as everybody else was in. But no, I think Ron seems to be working things really well. So
Wardog and Julie have a discussion, and Julie wants to know, well, why is it okay to go after Aurora now when you didn't do it when I said to? I thought that was a fair question. But I like that she was busting chops a little.
She did, but he gave her an answer that satisfied her.
Kind of. It ended the conversation. So.
Well, she seemed okay. So, but yeah, I was glad that she did pose the question to him.
We don't really have good insight into who's got social connection to who. So when he says something like that, well, you were closer to Kelley, so I thought you might tell her. So that didn't necessarily ring true, but we don't
take a chance that you would tell her.
We don't really know the basis for that, so it's hard to evaluate it. I guess that's the thing that I find challenging when you see those things. Well, we do
know the girls have been talking, and Aurora leaves that conversation and goes and runs it past Lauren. She wasn't as committed. If Lauren had said something different.
You meant Julie, right? You said Aurora, but you meant Julie leaves the Wardog conversation and goes to talk to Lauren.
Oh, yeah, for the Aurora vote outs. I guess what I meant. Uh-huh. Okay, so anyway, she goes and talks to Lauren.
Before she does that, though, Wardog tells us in his confessional that he's banking on stupidity. He knows that he should be the one voted out, but he thinks these people are stupid, and that's what he's counting on, so that it's not him. And then we proceed to see some people really struggle with their decisions and end up confusing themselves as Julie and Lauren huddle back up together. And when Julie says, hey, should we vote Wardog out first? Lauren's back to her same answer. No, we should go for Aurora.
But then she, they talk more, and she's kind of like, well, let me think about it.
They get spun around.
Then she's not sure. Well,
then
maybe.
Lauren's nervous, according to the way we get, at least. Yeah.
And then Ron talks to Aurora and just tells her he trusts her.
And they trust each other. Yep.
And she also points out that Wardog and Rick aren't talking to me at all.
That's bad for Rick. I'm not surprised with Wardog. But Rick should be working harder.
Yeah, obviously he didn't tell him that she had an extra vote, or they might have been more concerned about that. But I still think it's a bad move when you deliberately don't talk to somebody like that, because that is a big clue in for them that it could be them.
Of course, with Aurora oversharing at tribal councils, it would make me want to be a little more reserved in how much I talk to her anyway, because you'd worry that something you mentioned to her ends up getting blurted back out in tribal council.
Well, obviously, they worked it out where she felt safe enough not to play her vote at tribal councils. Let's go to tribal council.
All right, night 29, we're at tribal council. We get the danger horns again. I love those. Yeah. I'm still trying to find that so that I can include it in some music or something. So
okay.
I want that sample. I'm going to have to go in and take it out of that audio, I think.
Wardog tells us it just gets harder as the game gets smaller. The people get less.
Somehow he didn't realize that. I mean, he owns it and says that, but that seems odd. Did you notice when the jury came in that David and Kelley both seemed very happy for Rick?
Yep.
They were both celebrating that he had the immunity.
Well, and she was trying to stare down Wardog, wasn't she? A bit.
I think at times she certainly did.
Okay. She said something about he got the message.
Wardog.
I don't know if you meant David or Wardog.
Yeah, Wardog was talking about how there were lots of conversations going on, but Gavin wasn't having it, so he reacted facially, at which point Probst called him out to explain. He said, well, Wardog hadn't spoken to me since he voted Kelley out.
Yeah, since the Kelley vote, and they voted her out.
Yeah.
And I thought, working the jury.
There's a bunch of jury management going on at this tribal council for sure. Even Probst acknowledged it.
And then he's showing that he's against Wardog because he talked at me, not to me. Mm-hmm. And Rick used the word precarious twice during tribal council.
Yeah, that's certainly how it felt. He was trying to promote another analogy to see if people would repeat it, I think. So he had, are you the ball or are you pushing the ball around?
Poor Rick, he keeps being in more and more trouble all the time, doesn't he?
Yeah, as good as you may feel like he's doing, he's actually struggling. So it's like for every step forward, there's a step to the side or a step back or something going on, yeah.
And I think that's why he's just grasping for any even possible alliance he can make.
I loved his flexibility. Yeah, sure, I'll pivot and work with Wardog.
Absolutely.
But he didn't find the pivot soon enough this time. So Wardog's talking about how they're big targets in the jury. He's saying, yeah, that's why I had to get rid of you guys. You're super big threats. And that's why Ron and I went to take out Kelley. So he tried throwing Ron under the bus, and Ron wasn't having it. I think he took a beat to consider it when Probst turned to him and asked him what he thought about what Wardog had just done. He said, yeah, I did it. It was the right call. Yeah. So Ron owned it and moved on.
Yep, and because she was a threat. And but Wardog was pointing out the whole thing about, I've had to, battle with David for so many weeks, and I knew I wasn't in Kelley's end game. He's like making excuses why he had to take her out. But,
yeah, he's trying to soften the blow a little bit.
And I thought, did you know that, or?
No, he's just doing jury management, just like Probst pointed out, working the jury. And he turned to Victoria to get her take on that, and she did her thing, which was, you got to balance targets with threats and blah, blah. So she didn't overcommit. She didn't make any goofs in her response. Mm-hmm. Aurora said, no, I don't agree we're not going to agree on who the threats are because that's all relative and it's constantly changing, which that seemed very clear.
There is no one
well-spoken
threat.
I thought that for a change
too.
from her.
That.
She seemed slightly lucid this time at tribal
response.
council. Yeah.
Well, I think she's smart. It's just she just doesn't always articulate it well or think it through what she's saying because she is also emotional. And, I would assume she's used to saying pretty much what she thinks, except maybe in court. But
yeah,
I think she's not afraid to speak her mind.
If she's good at what she does, she has to think a lot about what she says and not be flip and off the top of her head.
Well,
we've seen her lamenting her choice that she made at tribal council and, worried that she'd put her foot in her mouth. So Maybe she did recognize it. Maybe she's doing a little better now.
Yeah, and we hear Lauren speak. Lauren hasn't had a whole lot to say at the tribal councils, but she was, pointing out the fact that, well, my threat may not be, say, Julie's threat.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think those people may choose to work well together if they can come up with the consensus of the overall biggest threat.
The positive that I saw in that was that there was an inclusion by pulling Julie into that and just saying, hey, there's a connection. I feel comfortable enough to say this, and we actually got to see it. So you got to think there might be a little significance of it. It seemed like further reinforcement of an alliance that was building over the course of these 2 days in this episode.
Well, and Rick, even, I'm not sure why he was pointing out that, he was also afraid because even though he'd been winning and he was happy about that, he does realize it puts a bigger target on him.
Right. And he gave his Caesar analogy, everyone walking around with knives waiting to stab you in the back. Ron said he didn't want any part of that, though. He's looking for people he can trust. So in contrast to the jury management, he was doing management of the active players and saying, no, I'm not walking around scared. I'm looking for the people I can trust to the end.
True relationships I can go all the way to the end with. And I thought,
I need some lambs that don't carry knives that I can take to the slaughter at Final Tribal. That's Ron's.
I know.
That's what Ron's really saying.
And I think Julie and Aurora would make really good ones for him.
Yeah, we don't have any reason to believe that Lauren represents a threat either. But yeah, he does seem to be cultivating Aurora and Julie, even though we saw him and Aurora squabbling. So they can work with each other and squabble.
I think Victoria could make a better argument than some in that they shouldn't leave her around too much. Even though we haven't seen a lot, I keep feeling like she seems to just insert herself quietly into all these. She's always on the right side of the vote, so she's in the know of what's happening pretty much every week. And she's crossing...
Contrast that with Rick.
She's crossing the lines back and forth, but it's like she's not being highlighted or noticed. She is under the radar.
Yeah, she's definitely under the radar.
And so that's why I think she's dangerous, too.
Yeah, she definitely represents... And actually, at this point in the game, those are where the big threats really lie. Mm-hmm. It's in the middle. It's not the goats at the bottom. It's not the threats at the top. It's the ones in the middle who can navigate their way through the end game so that they can be there at the end to win. It's always a timing game, right? Yep. That's why playing to the middle gives you maximum options.
Okay, it's time to vote.
Aurora told us she's used to the uncertainty. So.
Well, she should be.
Yeah, time to vote.
And so I still wasn't sure exactly where it would end up, but it ended up great for you, baby. For me, not so much, but I had another 3-point week, but that's okay. I actually still loved the episode anyway, and
it's great to see Wardog get knocked out after the way everything's built with him.
That was fine with me.
And you see, like, it brings some balance. So, okay, if you think he mistreated Gavin in some sense now, there's balance. So he got his.
Yeah, that didn't bother me that much, but...
Yeah, he basically flew too close to the sun.
I agree with him that they should take him out.
What did you think of their response? Yes.
What do you mean?
They laughed out loud at him when he tried to say, good job.
Well, especially Julie.
Yeah, she just really burst out. It's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, she did. Well, everyone was just big grins except for Rick, who was kind of doing an eye roll back there.
Because... Once again, he voted the wrong way.
That's right.
Yeah, he didn't know what was going on.
Yep.
Rightfully so. There's no reason to include him. You didn't need him.
That's right. Rick and Wardog voted for Aurora, and everybody else voted for Gavin.
No hidden immunity idol played by Lauren, and no extra vote played by Aurora. But we're at an interesting point with regards to that. So that takes us down to 7, and her extra vote expires at 7. So she can use it during the upcoming tribal council, and that's it. It'll expire and not be effective anymore, in case I didn't say that clearly.
Why wouldn't she use it next tribal, whether she thinks she needs it or not. So I expect.
Sometimes there can be blowback from advantages and hidden idols and things like that. But no, Ron knows, and Julie now knows, courtesy of Ron. So
yeah, people know. So I would just play it. But did you notice Gavin winking at Kelley?
Was it Kelley or was it Julia?
No,
because he's got a connection to Julia, and they were. It looked like they were maybe.
I thought he was courting Kelley this week. I really did, because like we did that for you, Kelley. And so I just kind of thought he was.
We missed it. I didn't mention it, but when they went to go read the votes, that's when Joe said, "Fasten your seatbelts." There, the title of the episode.
Yes, the title of the episode.
So someone in the jury gets the title of the episode. And Wardog is out. Kelley is happy, joy,
okay,
joy.
At least Rick made sure Wardog knew before he left and went on the jury that he didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't vote for you.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's any value in that.
I don't believe there is, but he was at least letting him know.
Yeah.
Since he's a jury member, why not?
He aligned with him, yeah.
That it could.
I'm not even sure Wardog would respect it. No. He would be like, "Yeah, dude, you didn't pick up on what was really going on. Thanks for not voting for me, but it would have been more impressive if you did." That's how I think Wardog would view something like that.
And so they made the right decision according to Wardog.
And to Kelley. Kelley's happy. She says that they got revenge for me.
That's right.
And Wardog
I'm sure they did it just for you.
Wardog, well, it's all about her. She's the star in her movie, so.
I think it worked out
Wardog
well for them,
takes the torch and heads off to the Edge of Extinction.
Yeah, you had it in his head that he would not go to Edge.
I said he's the first one that I thought may just go to Ponderosa, given he's so horrible in challenges.
Yeah, but he couldn't live with that.
I'm happy that he took the torch, but I thought there's a possibility, given how poor he does, that he would go, "You know what? I'm just going to go get a burger."
Well,
of course, he just stuffed himself the day before.
Of course, he could do that at any time, but.
Yeah.
Okay. Jeff points out for Next on Survivor that this is a game of manipulation. And Ron gives Rick the expired secret advantage.
Yeah, that he had earlier in the game.
So we knew he was going to use that at some point.
Or he said he would, yeah.
Well,
hadn't heard anything about it
but
since
he really hadn't needed it, and I don't know that he needs it for this vote. You think he's making a bad choice in blowing it on Rick, which everybody already wants out, instead of saving it for one of the other people that he might could get more advantage out of fooling one of them?
Yeah, it's always a timing thing, and nothing says that Rick will think that he needs to use the fake advantage right now. So I'm not sure. He does need him comfortable, and he needs options, and he wants to make sure Rick's not targeting him. So I can understand where it would come from.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know that it necessarily hurts him to pull the trigger on that right now. Now, it can backfire on you to the degree that the person you deceived could be a jury vote you don't get, and that could be important. Just like you were saying, the Rick Wardog exchange could be important for a jury vote.
Also, Lauren and Victoria are watching out while Aurora looks in Rick's bag, but he catches her.
Yeah, he did seem to catch him.
What are you doing in my bag?
Because Victoria was reading it, and she handed it back to Aurora, put it in the bag, yeah. And now it appears like it's family visit, right?
Yep.
Challenge is good to go, Probe says, and the only thing we're missing is the loved ones.
He said you can't trust anyone but family.
That almost sounds like they're not there, though.
No, I don't. You said that, but I didn't feel that way at all.
It just seemed like an odd way to tease it up.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're expecting the family visit.
I am.
With 7 left in the game at that point.
Yep. 7. Wow. This is winding down.
Yep, we're headed towards it. How about a JSFL update?
I can do that. There are 3 people tied for first with 45 points.
Nice.
That is nice since I only have 40. 12 people lost their USB. 92 people, me, lost a safe point. 138 people gained a vote-off point. Congratulations.
Good company.
Including Stace. And as far as the side challenge, in first place still with 44 points, Stacy. 42 points, James and Shannon. 40 points, Brandon, Jake Kindred, Jack, and Randy. With 39 points, Brad, Drew, Jeremiah, and Jonathan. With 38 points, Cold Mike. With 37 points, we have Iron Dave and Parker. And with 35 points, Slappy McGee.
That's Scrappy Slappy.
Or Scrappy, as Stacy says. A Scrappy McGee.
Hey, are you going to tell? You're going to mention to Julie?
Oh, thanks, Julie.
For getting that Slappy McGee song.
Oh, my gosh.
Earworm stuck in your head.
I wake up, I go to bed with it all day long, just out of the blue, no matter what I'm doing. It's me and Slappy McGee.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, honey. You should be worried. Because I've been singing me and Slappy McGee all week.
There you go.
Na 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 na.
Anything else about the episode?
I can't think about it now. I've got Slappy McGee back in my head again. I'm hearing Janis Joplin.
All right, well, Joanne and I have
episode?
done our recap. We got the broad strokes, went through this episode. Now it's time to turn it over to you, the other super fans. We do the listener feedback shows on Saturdays. We give each of you 3 minutes to include your observations, maybe something you saw that we missed and didn't cover, your predictions for what may happen next, or your assessment of how you think these folks are doing in the game. Who do you think's playing the best? Who's going to be the next one on Extinction Island? What other advantages might we be looking forward to? Who's impressed you most? How do you think the family visit's going to go? All sorts of different things that you could comment on this week. Been having fantastic listener feedback shows. Some of them include earworms, like me and Slappy McGee. Yeah, so there's a variety of content. We're looking forward to have you be a part of this too. So that feedback's due noon Pacific time on Saturday. Whether you write it, whether you call the voicemail, or you record it yourself, keep it in that 3-minute time frame. The voicemail number 206-350-1547 or toll free 844-643-8737. The email Joanne and Stacy Show at gmail.com. You can always find that information at GetSFP, GetSFP.com, where you can see the show notes for each episode we do. Click on the Read More link. You can find links to extra videos and all kinds of stuff there.
Okay, here's the thing. Do you see any way, any chance for Rick if he doesn't win an immunity?
No, they really want to take him out because he's got such a great story. There's just no way they want to.
Okay.
You have to have an emotional catalyst to overcome the necessity to get rid of someone with such a great story like Rick's comeback story.
Yeah, and a good talker and a good personality. Okay, but would then it be easier for him if he doesn't win if he goes before they have the challenge where somebody comes back? I mean, yeah, he's got stiff competition, but they all do.
Yeah, you definitely
He did it once before.
You can't say it would be easier for him by any means.
No, not easier.
Well, that was the way you phrased it.
Yeah, well, just for lack of a better.
So I think he's much better off being in the game and doing immunity challenges.
Granted.
And who knows, maybe Rick will surprise us and actually continue to win. It seems unlikely, but we've seen amazing stories develop before.
Okay. As far as who's playing the best game in the moment, you have to give that to Ron from what we've been shown, right?
I think you certainly can make a case for Rick. Rick's not always in the right place on the votes, but his story is a winner story, and it's a story that appeals to that gigantic jury that just continues to grow at Extinction Island.
He definitely has fought just as hard as he can.
If not me, someone who's lived in my dream, which
and
is making their way back.
Had to fight way harder than Ron.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is Ron has played a very good game from what we've seen.
What we get to see.
Exactly.
He's playing well, even if you don't necessarily like him.
Well, yeah.
Because there's a lot of folks that are not necessarily
about
Ron
like
fans.
Or not like.
Yeah, you can appreciate how well he
what
seems
we've
to
been
be
shown.
Treading water, playing the game, working his social network like we were talking about. Yep.
So really, now that Wardog's out, now Victoria, for me, is still out on the edge. I don't think she'd be a satisfying winner.
Yeah. Okay.
But I still think there may be going on a lot more to that than we know. That, like you said, they might come back and show us at the end. We could all change our mind because we really thought she had a chance at one point. But she's just
even though she wasn't much for hunting for idols, which we also didn't see anything about another idol potentially being in the game or anyone looking for it.
That's true. So maybe there isn't because there's this few people and still one out
Still
there.
one in, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Alrighty. All
So
right, that's all for me.
Okay. I'll just get back to we're looking forward to the listener feedback show on Saturday. And looking forward to hearing that. The sooner you can get it in, the sooner we can get it prepped and ready for the show. That's always a good thing.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good one.